Alrighty. So I'm gonna go ahead and post it. So back to Twitch. Oh wait. /Tryston Perry. Okay. Whoa, what the fuck? Jesus, Twitch is loud. Oh my god. What the fuck? I just loaded the Twitch homepage and that was super loud. Okay. Live streaming Bitcoin market analysis. Live. Okay. Cool. Let's frickin' go. Let's do this then. Can I pop out chat at all? Switch to non-mod settings. Pop out. They hide the pop out chat button. Or the chat pop out button. Okay. Sweet. Move that over here. Alright, I'm going to message my friend that I'm on. Okay. Live now. Cool. Alright. Oh, you can run ads now as a frickin'... Wow, you can do a lot of stuff on Twitch now. I haven't used Twitch in, like, such a long time. Okay, I just want to verify, like, the quality of the video and, like, the delay. So the delay is not amazing. It's pretty... somewhat high. But, alright. Well, we're just going to start. So... Usually, I don't start my day off looking at the daily. I don't look at the daily that often, actually. Or even, like, let's say the weekly or the monthly. But let's just kind of start out. So the monthly, if we go to, like, Bitcoin USD, we'll just be going on Bitcoin USD on Coinbase because it has more data. Looks pretty good, in my opinion. Even if we're non-logarithmic. I mean, we got some bidding down here. You could say you got some wicks. So that's, you know, I mean, that's not super bearish. We did have this huge dump that, you know, was a 50% retracement. And you could argue this is a complacency bounce, which I don't know if I'll talk about today, but you could argue that. But on logarithmic, I mean, to be honest, this kind of just looks like this is a trend line that's still in play. I don't use my trend lines to be like super... I don't trade based on this. I mean, but if you're like investing based on this, I mean, whatever. You know, this is really useless. But the point is that, like, honestly, like, logarithmically, if you're investing for the long term, like, this honestly wasn't a bad place to buy. And I was telling some friends this, like, if you want to buy Bitcoin for the long term, buying in here is a really good idea. It might go lower. Like, I still think there was a chance that, you know, I mean, I was calling for 29K in here, or 25K, and then eventually 20K. But that was because the chart looks so bearish on the daily. But yeah, so there's not much to say on the daily or the weekly, but I do like talking a little bit about this. I've seen some people compare this to, like, we had redistribution, so we had a range right here. Can I turn off Priceline? Wait. Oh, I can't. What the hell? I thought that setting was here. Okay. Whatever. And then we had another range here. So the idea is that... Here, I'll just disable these. 0.5. That way we just get the lines that we want. Because this line's kind of distracting me. So the idea is that you have two ranges here. And that this one was distribution. So you have the initial high, the key high. You have another sweep of it. So we have a weaker high here because we just barely went up and then came back down. We did set a higher low in, but we didn't impulse, you know, like this. Like this was an impulse move. You set your key high, you set a new low, and then you impulse higher, and you get some follow through on that impulse. This impulse didn't pull back and put in a new low. You know, technically, you don't want to be bearish here, but you want to be cautiously bullish as you start to push up because, and then we had the same thing here. And this is why a lot of people started like calling for a top because, you know, you have weakening momentum. I don't know. I don't need to look at RSI to tell that this is a very weak strength, that there's a divergence on RSI. I don't need to look at it to know that there is one here. And then we have this complacency shoulder where we just tag the top of the range. and then we started trading lower. So this would be this is very much distribution. If you're a distribution accumulation Wyckoff trader, this is your Wyckoff. The problem is that now people are trying to say that this is a redistribution range, and I don't follow that at all. If anything, I think you could argue that this is somewhat accumulation. You could say that this was a liquidation cascade, therefore your initial low is like right here, and you have your initial, I mean, it really doesn't matter where you draw your low, but you have your initial low, you have initial high, and then we push lower from that high. So that's very key. Like, I would say this is a spring where we tried to push lower, we tried to push higher, this ended up being a bull trap, and we push lower, make a new low. And then we, trap some people here, and then we try to go back up to the range, at least the range high, and then we just start contracting downwards. This ends up being your spring if you're trading Wyckoff theory, in my opinion. I didn't trade it based on this. I mean, I was bearish down here, but the reason why I was bearish was because of a Bollinger Band squeeze strategy that I use, and I had a bearish bias, so the Bollinger Band squeeze strategy I use is actually unbiased. It's just based on volatility returning to the market, so I just thought that logistically that this is bearish, so it's going to lead to the downside. And in hindsight, I still think that was actually a good analysis. I just think it just didn't work out, considering that derivatives were so bearish, and, I flipped my bias really quick, so whatever. But yeah, so some people are trying to say that instead of this being accumulation, if you're going off of Wyckoff theory, this is actually redistribution, because you have this initial high, and then you have this, and then you have this is your last leg. I don't know what it's called, like redistribution. I can't fucking spell. Is that going to come up? Wyckoff? I don't know how to spell Wyckoff. Yeah. So this is your UTAD, whatever the fuck that means. It's decent. I mean, it's decent, actually. It kind of lines up with this. But I just think that the problem with it is that we have this, and I'll pull up the Bollinger Band's width. This is what I use for my Bollinger Band squeeze strategy. So you have this, basically this just shows you the percentage width on the Bollinger Bands. I can show the code a little bit if you guys are interested, just for a quick explanation. So you get the Bollinger Bands, 2 standard deviation, 20 length SMA, and then what you do is you get the BBW, which is the upper band minus the lower band divided by the basis of SMA. So you basically get a width. So yeah. So this is going to be relative to the chart itself. This is going to be different depending on how volatile the market is. So basically, the problem with this being considering this redistribution is that we had a lot of contraction in here. Generally, when you're gonna have a range like this, you have equal supply at the top and equal demand at the top, or equal demand at the bottom. We didn't really have that. We had this kind of equal supply up here, equal sellers, equal demand here, people bidding aggressively, but then price contracted, and we had establishment of fair value. So to me, a range doesn't have to be, and you can think of this differently. I mean, this is all interpretation, but to me, a range doesn't have to be defined by just like a vertical or 2 horizontal lines. It can be basically wherever, it can be the boundaries of fair value. And so to me, fair value is in the middle of this. And then you have basically your outer range, your upper band, and your lower band, if you want to think of it in terms of like Bollinger Bands, basically. And then we have a very low Bollinger Band width. So if we actually add the Bollinger Bands, you can see like the contraction we had on here. And so that's basically indicating a contraction in volatility, which indicates an agreement upon market participants on the price. And so what happens is when you break out of that in whatever direction, whether it be up or down, you do not want to fade that move. I mean, this is something that happens time and time again, even on Bitcoin. I mean, you look at this, like we had a pretty decent contraction here, broke upwards, fucking new trend. This thing just hugged the bands for literally multiple weeks. Same thing happened here. We had this big contraction accumulation, and then boom, that was the precursor to the move. I'm not saying the Bollinger Band's width was the reason why we had a bull market, but I'm just saying that is a way you could have seen what was going on. Same thing happened here. I remember this time, this was like 1% moves, people talking about scalping, that was impossible. So my point is that this could be a complacency shoulder. I just don't think that it matches this very well. That's just my opinion, though. I saw that on Twitter earlier, and so I just wanted to talk a bit about that. Yeah, so that's my daily, or actually that's not even my full analysis. To be honest, supply, general areas of interest. Actually, no, that's not my box. This is my box. That's my supply box. This is where we're going to find real resistance. So we haven't actually reached it really yet, but to be honest, this whole area is kind of resistance. So I'm not bearish here because we've had such a vertical. I mean, this is literally, you do not want to be shorting this, in my opinion. You are getting weaker momentum. RSI is obviously probably setting in some divergences. So this is possibly going to go down. In fact, I think it would make sense even if we were going, higher for us to get a dip, maybe back down to here. Ideally, you'd want to front run this, in my opinion. You wouldn't actually want to go down here and put in a perfect test. It's not like that'd be bearish. It's just that considering how bullish this is, I mean, look how high we went before we had a dip. I mean, we had freaking, I think this will count. Yeah, 1. Okay, we had 10 days of green in a row, like before we had an actual dip. So the point is that if you really want this to be bullish and move higher, it almost has to not really dip that far. So to me, like dipping here and then moving forward, maybe swinging out this low, fake some people out to sell the low and then run it back higher is kind of the bullish setup. Other than that, I mean, I just think that we're probably going to head back down to 40K. I don't want it to, but I just, like I said, unless it V recovers really quickly within the next week or so, this is not looking decent. So I'm kind of 50-50 at the point whether or not we're going to break all-time high. I'd rather us break all-time high because, and I think it's still a possibility because we had so much contraction here. That's the big reason. But I don't know how long this move's going to last after that contraction. Like, I don't know if the contraction still matters in today's market, 30 days later. But yeah, I mean, that's really the resistance. I mean, support is up here, right here. Obvious support. Still going to have people bidding here because just everyone's front-running each other because it's up only. But yeah. All right, well, let's zoom in like the hourly. Let's talk more about today. So some zones I'm looking at. Let's draw our demand zones first because it's more relevant. So one of the key things that I've been looking at, a lot of times I'll look at swing failure levels. So I want to see like some strength after we put in a new low. So the idea is that everyone's trading like a trend is a higher high and a higher low, or a lower low and a lower high. So if you put in a new low in an uptrend, people are going to want to sell below that low. You're going to have to find stop losses there. I hope most people that are watching my stream can understand that because I always feel like I need to explain that shit, but I probably shouldn't. So this is the key low I'm watching right now on intraday, and it looks like we're literally about to take it right now. So I picked the worst time to stream, but whatever. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So that's the key low I'm watching. If we can if we can come down, start trading below it, swing failuring, so it'd have to go a bit lower than this, maybe like down a little bit more like that. If we can come down a bit and then put in some sort of pin bar, if I can see a bunch of selling at the lows and then those sellers getting trapped, then I think we can head a bit higher because we're right above a demand zone as well. Oh god, get this stupid magnet off. So this could even fall into demand, tag it, get a bunch of bidders, and then move back. Yeah, this is exactly what I want to see, to be honest. So I was thinking that maybe this is actually a range, but it's not really a great range. It's just too choppy to tell. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. It's just too choppy to tell. So I wouldn't say this is a legitimate range, but I would say that this is range-like, where I think there's a good chance that we go up from here rather than down. I just don't know where we would go down to. Like, if we lose this, I don't think this, which I do think this is demand, I don't think this is going to hold. I just think this looks too bearish to where if we lose all this, like, this is just going to look like this. Where we're just going to keep chopping through every single... like, you had demand here, but by the time that price got here, it just was too bearish. Like, there was just too much selling going on, no interest, and yeah. So, I kind of feel like this demand zone will be the same as that one that failed. If we don't like nuke to it. If we nuke to it, fucking buy that shit in my opinion. Buy on spot or however you want to trade it. But if we just grind down, if we don't SFP this or we don't just go nuke straight to it, that's not looking good in my opinion. But ideally, if we can bounce from here, I mean, the closest supply zone, you know, I mean, is sadly it's like today's high. Okay, fucking magnet, please leave. I hate the magnet so much. I wish there was like a hotkey to toggle it. I don't think there is. Nope. I'd say could definitely get up to here. Probably within the next 12 hours if it put in a good swing failure. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'd rather be long here. I don't want to be shorting. Sadly, I was sleeping up here. I fell asleep at like 7, which is 19 o'clock my time. I fell asleep at 7, and I really wanted to short up here. I saw a fucking amazing short opportunity when I woke up, but by the time I woke up, price was like right here. So, yeah, I couldn't short it by then. Or was no setup at least. But yeah, so that's about that. If we can zoom in now, actually, a bit. Ooh, is that a real gap? What? This is on Coinbase, though, actually. That's not a real gap, is it? No fucking way. Holy shit. Dude, I've never seen a gap on Coinbase before. Holy fuck. Damn, dude. Let's check it out on FTX. Ooh, yeah, this is looking pretty good already. Ooh, okay. I might need to, like, hop off early and actually get in this. This looks really fucking good. Oh, boy. We'll see. Because I gotta... Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know. I don't want to just ape into it because we've still been, like... We've still just been, down only for a while. So, yeah. So I'll have to end the stream early a bit, though, to be honest. Because I'm not interested in letting that go. Wait, what happened to my lines? Oh, they're on Bitcoin USD. That's why. Okay. Alright. So, yeah, so if we zoom in, like, a little bit more... I probably should have done this on freaking actually, I'll just go back to BTC Perp. So... Yeah, so, I mean, I was getting pretty bullish in here. I was actually going to buy a dip right here, but then we SFP'd this and then kind of didn't really do anything. It wasn't really an SFP, to be honest. I was trying to bid in here, but it just didn't look good on lower time frames. Like the 1 minute or whatever. Oh, this is the 5 minute. That's why. I spend most of my time on the 1 minute now. Yeah, so I was trying to bid this, like, right here, but then we came down before this candle closed and then just went back up immediately and then came back down again. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to bid that. But yeah, so we just had grinding down. A bunch of sellers just selling the lows. Then a bunch of sellers got trapped here, as you can kind of see by just how much volume was here. This is a lot of buying and selling volume. So I remember looking and seeing, like, okay, on the footprint chart, we can actually pull it up. Oh, crap. I might need to log in, though. Yeah, I need to log in. Okay, one sec. Let me just log in to Trading Light. Trading Light is what I use for the footprints. I don't actually use exo charts. So if we look on Bitcoin Perp, and we just close all this other crap, and we'll go to the 5. We'll just stick on the 5 minutes since it's closer. Actually, where was it? It was right here. So if we zoom in to, we'll just use this. Oops. All right, so there's a lot of sell delta here. People are really selling into lows. 82 Bitcoin, 60 Bitcoin, market sold. We can even up this actually to 10 ticks since we're on a higher time frame. Decent selling here, decent selling here. Not as much as I thought, actually. But there was a lot of supply here. I mean, just a lot here, a lot here, sorry. Yeah, a lot here, a lot here, a lot here. And so the idea is that as we moved away from that, Oh my goodness. As we moved away from that, these areas where there's a lot of selling, like right here, to be honest, this is going to act as support. And so if price wants to trade higher, if price is going to trade higher, this is going to be the area you're going to want to keep, because there's just so many sellers traps. The idea is that you can trade up, maybe worst case you go down and then you move up again. Best case would be you just straight trade back up, you V recover after setting in a new low like this, so that way you have to squeeze all the shorts and then this trend just keeps going higher because shorts are forced to close. So it's forced buying liquidity because so many people open shorts here. The only problem was that I think open interest did go up here. So technically you could argue that that's longs and shorts entering. So you could actually argue that a bunch of longs and shorts entered here, so longs are going to get paid theoretically, and then shorts are going to have to close, before they get liquidated or stopped out or whatever. But then we lost that, and so this was the point where I was like, this looks pretty bad, especially because we didn't V recover. We just chopped around, and then we just chopped higher, and then we came down. This looks better. This is what you want to see, a V recovery. So we put in, here, if we look at the footprint chart, there's going to be so much selling at this low. I mean, huge volume. Oh, also this. Volume delta divergence. So you get a lot of selling into the lows. I mean, just look at that. 164 Bitcoin, 134 Bitcoin. I mean, the smallest number you have on this chart other than 0 is like 15. And look, that's a lot of Bitcoin still to be sold at a low. So you can just see how much selling was occurring at this absolute low, and now we're trading higher. So this is a point where, like, statistically, probabilistically, it's actually probably a good point to get in. If you know how to trade it. So yeah, hopefully this means that we could have a Green Tuesday, which honestly, also this is during the daily open, so fucking fade the daily open. Hell yeah. And oh my god, this looks really decent on the daily actually. Oh, this looks really good. Okay, I'm pretty happy. So long as we can keep trading higher, obviously, I think that the low is actually in for the day. So the daily open was right here. That was the daily open. Okay. Damn, dude, I'm excited because I made okay money today. I lost money trading spot and I made some money trading Doge. But I'm kind of disappointed because while I made money, I made money on my derivatives account. It was only because I was scalping moves. It wasn't because my trade idea was correct. Or it didn't pan out, so that's why I'm excited that hopefully this can trade higher. But yeah, so regardless, we lost this, and then we just started chopping around, and then I just didn't like this. Like, this just didn't look good. And if we look at, like, Bitcoin perp, or, like, Doge perp, let's say, because that's what I was trading, if we look at the hourly, like, this just looked really weak. One of the things that I saw was that we came down and we tagged... I do use moving averages. Crap, I didn't do that. I do use moving averages, but I use them not as support or resistance, but as just general ideas of like where there's value. Actually, sometimes I do use them as support and resistance. I guess I don't actually bid them, but basically I use them for bias. So we came down here, we touched the moving average, put in a really nice candle, have a decent amount of volume on it, so you can assume some people sold the low. I mean, well, some people did. How many did is you'd have to zoom in on the footprint. You'd expect this, if we're here live, I mean, this looks fucking bullish as fuck. This is super bullish. And then we just chopped. Just fucking went sideways, and then we got rejected. If we go on the lower time frames, let's put this on the hourly chart. If we go on the higher time frames, we came down, we bidded this, then we trade higher, and then we came back down, tested again, tried to trade higher, and this looks like shit. It still kind of looks terrible, to be honest. Like, to me, yeah, this doesn't look too good. We swung out the low. We're at support, though, so, I mean, you don't want to be shorting, in my opinion. Like, shorting this would be stupid, but being bullish here is not ideal, I think, because it's just, like, we're still trending down. And until that kind of overall trend changes, like, you're just not, yeah. I don't draw my lines perfectly because the market's too chaotic for me, in my opinion, for perfect lines to work. Yeah, I mean, so the way that I can kind of talk a little bit about on Twitter, I said I was going to give away some free alpha on basically Bitcoin altcoin correlations. I actually don't think it's that much of an alpha. I just think that it's like interesting. It's something I spotted kind of recently because I don't really trade alts. I'm trying to get a little more into them because, you know, especially in alt season, they're better to trade, particularly when Bitcoin is just chopping like this. Oh, we just had the hourly close too. Okay, cool. So Bitcoin's chopping. You know, moving average doesn't do anything. We're chopping at the top, local top. So to me, this seems like Bitcoin is redistributing. So I want to be focusing more on alts because they're going to have more, you know, generally speaking, what you have is you have Bitcoin as the initial pump, then the major coins will have the initial pumps, and then you'll have some shit coins or your DeFi, which is, I don't consider shit coins. All that other stuff that's like a little more risky will pump. So one of the things that I found was that if you get like a lit cascade or let's pull up the relative strength index actually. So what I found actually is that if you have some sort of like divergence, actually it should be on like the 1 minute, I'd say. If you have like a divergence on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's really weak right now in the higher time frames. It's not really going anywhere. But if you have like some sort of divergence where Bitcoin is basically, the selling is weakening in alt season, might be a good idea to get into like an altcoin because the altcoins are going to be stronger than Bitcoin because people are FOMOing more. So if we come in here, you know, while Bitcoin is making lower lows but putting in higher highs on RSI, you actually have Dogecoin making a higher low every single time and eventually trading higher than Bitcoin from the last low to the top 4.64%, from the last low to the top 1.52%. And it would have been much harder to catch that move down on that final lit cascade than up here. I don't even know if I would call it a lit cascade. It's just a lot of selling. But yeah, so that's kind of the idea. And so I noticed this a little bit. I don't know if it works on higher time frames. I mean, I literally have only tested it like for a few days worth of 1 minute time frames. But if we come like here, let's say, so not a perfect RSI divergence, but the idea is that you have a trending RSI up, and you know Bitcoin's chopping. Bitcoin falls to support, falls to a moving average. So there might be some support down here, and you got lower lows and higher highs on RSI, basically indicating that the strength relative to its the strength of this trend relative to historical price action is not very good. So the strength of the downtrend of the correction is waning. So if we go into Dogecoin, let's say if it happened again, yeah, and so you have this, and so if you can try to catch a dip here, so you have the initial lit cascade, don't want to fucking be in that shit. And then you have your initial low, you have another low made. Once you start to see like a, you know, find some way to get in, but basically you just want to wait for Bitcoin to chill the fuck out or show signs that it's about to chill out and then get positioned. And you can see here like the strength, like Bitcoin made a new low here, I think. Or no, it didn't, but it still was looking really bearish while Dogecoin was looking a little bit more bullish. It was still pretty bearish, but yeah. So that was something I found interesting. And then of course Dogecoin just traded higher. I'm gonna try to find one more example of it. I don't know if we're gonna have any examples. So this is kind of an example. So you get this. It took a lot of time for this to play out, a little bit more than I would have liked, but it still kind of played out. But yeah. Yeah, I don't ever play RSI divergences as a reason to take a trade. I definitely can use them as a bias sometimes, but by the time that I see an RSI divergence, like I'm already having a bias from like order flow or something. So yeah, this was an instance where everything was trading down actually, so that didn't work. But I guess the idea is that when Bitcoin's, you know, if you're in an alt season, if Bitcoin starts putting in like RSI divergences to the upside specifically, RSI divergences on the like bearish RSI divergences probably won't matter as much, or at least you shouldn't short. You could use them to take profit if you wanted, but don't short a bearish divergence, especially in an alt season, in my opinion, on Bitcoin or anything. It's just stupid. If you have your own system that works, cool. Don't listen to me. But for the people that just use RSI on a chart, like that's just my 2 cents. Don't do that. I used to do that. It didn't work out. But yeah, once you can see maybe like, you know, just overall weakness in the downtrend on Bitcoin, in a macro uptrend for not just Bitcoin but for alts, ape into a fucking altcoin, whatever altcoin you like that you think looks strong, and then, you know, maybe it'll go up, maybe it'll trade higher, whatnot. You know, this would have been an okay one. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's about all I wanted to talk about. Let's check how BTC Perp is doing after that swing point got taken out. I want this off my chart. Let's see how it's doing. Yeah, so it's doing decent. It's doing okay. I mean, it could look a little better, I think. But I definitely wouldn't be bearish here. Not so sure I want to be bullish yet. But, I mean, yeah. Oh my gosh, the socket connection, or the MQTT connection. Alright. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We got a lot of selling here. A lot of these sellers are trapped, so this is probably going to act as support, this area down here. So long as open interest went up. Open interest actually went down. Open interest up here, so you have some people opening positions here. Market's not able to trade through it. But OI is flat and not declining here, so people might not be closing their positions. Or either that or someone's closing and someone's opening on the other side. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look perfect, but hopefully it's good enough. We'll see in the next coming hour or so. This will probably resolve in the next hour, to be honest. So yeah, so that's my update for Bitcoin. Hoping for some upside. Either we're going to SFP, we're going to go here, or in my opinion, we're going to just chop down to here. Those are the two options. Or we could nuke and then do something else, but yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you on the next one.